As a breast cancer warrior, Lori Marini understands firsthand what it takes to get beyond the fear and finding the courage to live the life you love on your terms. As a motivational coach, Lori specializes in empowering women during their healing journey after a life crisis, especially those who've lost their purpose and are afraid of moving forward. Laurie has a Master's of Health Science as a pathologist assistant with a vast experience working with patient tumors and managing multi-million-dollar diagnostic and research laboratories. What's brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me. Second, thanks for not reading that entire bio because I clearly need to change it. And it's super long, guys, for those of you who may not have seen it. Yeah, there's a condensed version. So I am Lori Marini, and I am a pathologist assistant by education. And after 20 plus years of supporting other people in along their journeys of health, I found myself on the other side of the table when I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And having been a medical practitioner for that long, it was very traumatizing and confronting for me. I realized after some time, I'm like, you know what, if I feel this way and I have the experience, I have the knowledge, I know what they're saying to me, I know the treatment courses, then how does anybody else get through this? And that's how I became a master coach. And I spend my time supporting people in either understanding what is happening to them medically and what they need to do. And also I work with women who are just like, you know what, my kids are grown. I don't know who I am anymore. What do I want for my life? And it's been an amazing, amazing journey for me to be able to support people.
Was the trigger to your change of purpose this diagnosis?
Yeah. So before I got the gift of cancer, I was, a powerhouse. I worked in, I had my dream job. I had my retirement set up. I was good. I had my plan. And then when this happened, I looked at my plan and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't be patient forward, working with metastatic breast cancer patients when I'm trying to heal myself. So I realized that I needed to pivot. And it took me a couple tries of different things to finally be where I am today in supporting people, empowering women, like just really letting them recognize their own power and what they truly, like what their life purpose is.
So, what do you tell women, especially if they hear the news of a life-threatening diagnosis?
Oh, that's a really good question. So for me, I gave myself about 20 minutes of a good cry, and then I'm like, you know what? Let's go to it. Let's go to work. And I have a distinction of being a survivor who, like, to me means like you're just going along for the ride. And I hope I don't offend anybody, but that's how it resonates with me. It's disempowering. It's like, okay, you got through it. But I like to think of us more like warriors. That's why I call us life warriors. You don't need a diagnosis. Sometimes it's a loss of a job. It's a loss of a loved one. It's like maybe a divorce that has you take a step back and recognize, okay, this is my life. Like, am I happy? And for me, the word warrior resonates because I feel like we prepare ourselves to go into battle. We use the tools, we get the knowledge, we educate ourselves, we get the support, and then we launch. And then we go into what we need to do to really give ourselves the best life.
And change doesn't happen in a comfort zone, does it?
Never. It never does. And I have to tell you, where this journey has taken me is to come on and share my story, to get up on stages, to write a book. And I'm going to be honest with you, I really don't want to be in the public eye. right? Like this isn't my wheelhouse, but I know that if I can help one person by just sharing my story and what I learned, then my uncomfort, like not being comfortable, will have served its purpose.
So, what's your theory on why some people survive and others don't?
Oh, I think there's a lot of factors. So we've proven that genetics is one of them, right? And I'm assuming you mean cancer. I guess let me ask you
Yeah,
that
yeah,
first.
yeah.
Yeah. So genetics definitely play a role. So, there's some things that are inherited. Like the best example I could give you is diabetes. Diabetes for some people, it's inherited. But then for some people, diabetes is your environment. It is how you treat your body. It is the condition in which you live. And it can be reversible. And for me, cancer is the same way. Some of us have genes that we can't alter. And then some of us have, like myself, for me, it was my environment. It was my high stress job. It was not managing my emotions, right? I ate well, I exercised, I did all the things I thought I could, but I did not embrace the self-care component when it came to my responsibilities with my patients. And that I know played a part in it.
So emotional stress is a big factor.
Definitely.
Yeah. What strategies do you have in confronting emotional stress? Obviously, this also increases when you get a diagnosis like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Facing your mortality is not easy, right? But I think of it as a gift because now I no longer play in an area that doesn't serve me. And so part of emotional management, stress management, is recognizing like, hey, like, why am I doing this? Why am I putting up with this? Why am I allowing this to happen? So it makes you become an advocate for yourself. It makes you really stand up for yourself. The other thing is we need to get clear as to what we want and not waste time on things that don't serve us. So define your goals, set yourself up to win, have your environment work for you instead of the other way around. I feel that especially as women, we always put ourselves last. And I can tell you 100% for a fact that I did that. I put my career before my health, even though I thought I was doing, I used to be a CrossFit junkie and worked out all the time. But I put my career first. I put my family first. I put everybody else before me. The fact of saying no, setting those boundaries, and allowing myself time for me to just be with me really was never on my radar. And there's a statistic that said 7 to 10 years after an emotional crisis, like a high stress crisis, you have a greater prominence of developing cancer. And so for me, I had 4 masses of different sizes, and I could go back from my diagnosis to the stage of where the cancer was for the catalyst of high stress in my life.
That's very interesting because there are some studies pinpointing the same for burnout, job burnout, that it has a stage of up to 7 years of high stress before the body physically and emotionally virtually collapses.
Yeah. And that's the same, right? Like think of burnout and the emotions that you're feeling, right? You're never at peace. You're never, a lot of people aren't content. They're not happy. They are just like, they have that burn and that, like you're going to snap at any moment because like it is just too much. It is overwhelming. And you just like, you stuff it down, and you're just like, try to ignore it. But that's the same thing that'll give you a chronic illness as well. A lot of our autoimmune diseases that are not genetic are also part of that.
Yeah.
I really believe it.
Yeah, so we touched on emotional stress, setting boundaries, finding purpose, finding goals. What role does nutrition play?
Huge. So I have always been a Mediterranean diet person. So my eating was clean. Alcohol was probably the one thing that people, we hear about smoking being bad, but people don't tell you the effects of alcohol, right? Even having one drink a day has an impact on your body. It increases your inflammation. It really taxes your system. And I think that that's the secret one that people don't really often tell you how damaging that can be. So I'm not telling people don't do that. I'm telling people, like, don't have that be your vice of when you're having a high stress day. So many people will go and they'll buy themselves a bottle of wine and they will finish it. And some people
Yeah,
are doing this nightly. Like,
yeah,
that's eventually going to catch up to you, whether it comes in the form of cancer, breast cancer. There is a link of drinking and breast cancer, but you also need to think about your kidneys and your liver that are filtering all of this. Like, they will eventually get impacted too.
sure. So some people swear on doing conventional medicine,
Mhm.
and others go totally the holistic way. Uh, you obviously have experienced both sides of the
Yeah.
equation.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, is there what would you recommend? Bit of both?
That's a great question. So everybody, like you said, people have very strong feelings on this. I, based on what I knew at the time, for me, I knew because of seeing repeat patients that I knew I'm like, cut it out. I don't want it in my body anymore. And I will deal with whatever I need to deal with after that. Some people believe the body could cure itself through holistic measures, right? It's really up to you to educate yourself as to what you wanted to do. I will share what I chose to do. I chose to cut it out. I had definitive malignancy on one side, I had precancerous state in the other. So I was like, I want it out, I want it gone. And then from there, I also took on a lot of the holistic measures. So think acupuncture, meditation, red light saunas, a lot of yoga, because yoga is meditation. And I also believe in nutrition. So always go organic when you can, if you can afford it. The thing is too, is that our food sources now, the soil in which our food is grown is no longer as nutrient. So you need really clean supplementation. And that's why if you go to my website, you'll see what I use personally. I use a superfood protein shake that's going to give me all my vitamins, minerals that I need to support myself. I also will supplement with greens, right? There's green juices out there that give you, you cannot eat enough in order to provide your body what it needs. And it's to the point that I have used them long enough that I know I can feel when I'm not taking my anti-inflammatory pills, or I'm not taking my green juice, or I'm not having my protein shake. My body actually tells me, like, it just starts not working as optimally. So if you're unsure about what you need to do, there are experts out there. I'm happy to talk to people and share my experience with you. I am not a naturopath, but I've walked the walk for long enough that I can guide you in the right direction too. So,
Yeah. As you say, people have very strong beliefs on this. Go chemo, do the traditional
yeah,
route, and there's no other way.
right. And then I've had, friends that are chiropractors being like, why'd you go for surgery? Just come in and get adjusted, and the body will heal itself. Like, honestly, you have to do what you feel comfortable doing. So I did a blend of both because that's what worked for me. And I've had people have really great successes with just doing 100% natural,
Yeah.
holistic measures. So,
Well, I firmly believe that the universe is trying to tell us something. All that's confronting us at the moment, all the mental health problems, there's something that we need to change.
yeah. And that's why I call my cancer a gift now, because I didn't recognize until I had the hit over the head. And like, we all need to get that awareness. And for us, it's going to come in many different forms. For me, I was just stubborn enough that I needed a life altering, right? A life challenging illness
Yeah.
for me to start to pay attention. But once I got that, and I really understood how fragile our bodies are, but they're resilient, right? How fragile life is, but you could really live it fully regardless of the amount of time, and how important your relationships are. And we sometimes value family, but sometimes your family is not your blood. And to know that, set yourself up to win, regardless of the circumstances, for me means that that's a life well lived.
Yeah. And sometimes family relationships are very toxic.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, like, at first I thought my family would be the people that supported me the most. I love my family. I have a great relationship with my family, but I can't call my mom when I'm having a bad day because I'm like nervous about going and getting my scan, or like I feel something and I'm like, I'm on edge about it. Because the second I call her, I then end up consoling her because her daughter's in this place where she has metastatic cancer. And then I'm like, wait, this is not why I called you. So I learned early on and very quickly that I'm like, I need to find other people that I could just really be straight with. And
Would you recommend supportive groups who are in a similar situation?
yeah, I found a lot of resources in the online groups. And then that's what I provide for people, right? So sometimes people will just call me and be like, I have a really bad day. I just need to talk to somebody. And that's what we do, is just really get them out of, that state that they're in and getting them back into the positive state of who they really are.
That's really great work you're doing, Laurie. Tell us a bit about your coaching business. Um, how's your approach there? How can people reach out to you?
Oh, great. So everything about me is available on my website. And my approach to what I'm up to in the world is that, like, look, let's be honest. I have every reason, right? I used to be super hopeful that I was cured, right? They told me, go and live your life. And I had this little voice in the back of my head I always needed to shut down. And almost 5 years to the day of me getting diagnosed and treated, they told me that I was metastatic. I now have lesions in my spine. I did everything that I was supposed to do. I did the holistic way. I did the conventional way. And you know what? This is what the universe has planned for me. And I have every reason to just really be mad at life. I have every reason to just not care. I have every reason to let myself go. I have every reason to just, right, be mad, be angry. But you know what? Like, that's not who I am, and that's not what I stand for. So my approach is, how can we live today the best day? And how can I do that powerfully and with lots of joy? So I started a program called the Joy Program for people to come in and get a really supportive group and get the resources that they need, and to just know that they are in an environment where there's no judgment and they can expect nothing but love in return, regardless of how they come.
So people connect with you online, and you do
Yeah.
this as a virtual group, or do you meet people personally?
So I'm based out of Florida, is where I am. I do travel across the country, the United States for right now, sharing my message in some as a speaker. And as far as working with clients one-on-one, I do have a monthly subscription program at a really low cost. But then I also provide one-on-one support by Zoom, where we just really dive into their life and just take a look at, an inventory of every facet of their life, and just really empower them and get them what they want and what they want it to look like. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're telling people to, change their life, leave their husbands. I'm like, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is if you don't have a relationship that's as powerful as you want it to be, passionate as you want it to be, fulfilling as you want it to be, it doesn't mean you need to leave them. It means you need to put in the right effort to get the outcome that you want. And that's what we do. And it's amazing. And I feel so blessed to be able to help you.
Yeah, one message I try to get across in this podcast is that life is up and down. And sometimes these down moments are the magical moments where you go into introspection, where you dig deep into inside yourself and you find your purpose. And some people later say in retrospect, what a blessing. I wouldn't have otherwise changed my life. And I can say the same about me as well. When I was literally close to burnout, and that eventually motivated me to change everything.
And I could say that's true for me too, right? So I'll never forget, I was living in New England and I was covered head to toe. I had this huge parka on, I had a hat, I had a scarf, and I had boots on, and the only thing that was showing was my eyes. They were the only thing exposed. And this gust of wind came down the alleyway, and I was like, why do I live here? And that was the deciding factor for me, where I'm like, you've been talking about moving to the beach for 10 years. You've been talking about moving to a tropical climate. Why are you not doing it? And that was the catalyst for me. So it took me a couple of years to get here, but now I have my beach house. I live in Florida. I live in the Tampa Bay area. I paddleboard every day. I support my local community. I have amazing relationships. And once I landed here, the thing that would historically have never happened. My entire family came down, and we now all live within 30 minutes of each other. And I now am living the life that I always wanted. And some people are like, why are you doing it? Like, Lori, you don't know if you're going to be alive tomorrow. Well, isn't that even more reason to do that, to be courageous in your life and to have the hard conversations and to not settle? And that's really, really my belief on it.
Yes,
We have
and
one life.
the message with such a life-threatening diagnosis isn't it the message, life can be over tomorrow, so live it now.
Yeah, 100%. We wake up every morning, and either my husband says it to me now, but I for a long time said it to him, where I'm like, we made it another day. What are we going to do today to just have today be great and be great with people?
And it's
And
the message all the wise sages have said all the centuries, all over the centuries. Live the moment.
yeah.
We don't know what tomorrow or the future will bring.
Yeah. And a lot of people worry. They worry about what it's going to look like. They worry about what's going to happen. Like, they live in fear. And so you can't be in love and be in fear at the same time. So the message I try to get out there is like, you're not going to be able to control it anyways. So just let it go and just live in the moment and be grateful and embrace what you have right now. And sometimes your miracle doesn't show up the way that you want it to, right? Like, think about like when you were in your 20s and you thought life was going to look a certain way. Well, maybe you got what you needed. It's not showing up the way that you want it to. And maybe you just need to be a little bit more open to have it appear.
Thanks so much for talking to us, Lori.
Thank you.
And I'll post your links below so that people can connect with you. And what a great message for people out there.
Thank you so much for having me. And to everybody listening, give yourself grace. Forgive yourself and forgive others. And just really celebrate the wins, even if that means you were able to get out of bed and make the bed this morning. It doesn't always need to be a huge accomplishment. Life itself is a good win.